There's a theme to every week of the NFL season, and week 3 was the week of blocked field goals. Here on episode 59 of VinConn Sports Talk, we will be taking you through it all, covering the crazy ending to the 1 o'clock window, as well as the rest of the week 3 slate. So without further ado, it's your hosts, Connor Swanson and Vinny Martin here, and we are excited to dive into it. So Vinny, I hand it over to you. How are you feeling on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
You know, I'm feeling good, Connor. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you all for joining us today for episode number 59. We're almost at milestone number 60 here of VinConn Sports Talk. In week 3 in the NFL, we're going to be talking all about it today. What a crazy week. Another crazy week. I'm not going to say there was the best of games here in week 3 because that cannot be said with a straight face because there was a lot of laughers in this week. But just a ton of crazy endings, a ton of weird, wacky stuff going on. So we're going to break it all down for you today. We have a bit of a new format here for our recap episodes. Try to make it go by a little bit quicker. We're going to be spending more time on the major storylines around the league and less time on the things that you guys probably don't care about as much, the blowouts, the irrelevant stories. So why don't we jump right into it with our 3 games of the week, Connor? And I'll start us off here by talking about a Monday night battle last night between 2 Super Bowl contending teams from each conference. Always exciting when the conferences meet up like this. We have the 1-1 Lions and the 1-1 Ravens. Electric atmosphere. My pick for the best night game atmosphere around the entire NFL. And the Lions took care of business, which we both did not think was going to happen. We thought the Ravens were going to win this game. The Lions ended up winning 38-30, and the Ravens did score a garbage time touchdown, so that score is a little misleading. Jared Goff doing Jared Goff things. 20 for 28, 202 yards and a touchdown. Extremely efficient, extremely careful with the football. Just really good game from him. And then Lamar Jackson, same sort of deal. 21 for 27, 288, 3 touchdowns. And then the Lions running backs are the story, as they typically are. David Montgomery leading with 151 yards. He did break loose a couple times. He had a big play late in the game. So good for him. One of his best games in a while. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously very involved with 67 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the guy is elite. Yep. Okay, one of the best wide receivers in the game. And according to Jared Goff, the best wide receiver he's ever played with, according to the broadcast last night. He goes 7 for 77 and a touchdown. Mark Andrews for the Ravens, though, on the other side of things now. Finally getting on the board here, gets in the end zone twice, 6 for 91, but the main story for the Baltimore Ravens has to be Derrick Henry.
The king.
The King Henry, who has gotten off to not a very king-like start in 2025. Last night, 50 yards on the ground, not good for him. He does get in the end zone, but a costly fumble. He's in the fourth quarter. He's fumbled in all 3 of his games so far, and he's only fumbled 3 times in the last 3 seasons, I want to say, before this year. So Derrick Henry, you saw him on the sideline. You saw the emotion. He was just extremely upset. He feels like he let his team down, which he did.
He did.
He did let his team down. He apologized after the game in an interview to Flock Nation. As I guess that's what the Ravens fans call themselves. I actually had no idea about that. But, yeah, man, Derrick Henry, you got to feel bad for the guy, but he is getting older. And, teams kind of know what to do against the Ravens now because they've been doing this same formula for so long. And you're seeing Lamar have to throw the ball a lot more than he has in years past, which, it works. It worked against the Browns. This game, he looked good. However, Zay Flowers got taken out of the equation as well last night. So, in general, the Lions had an excellent game plan on how to stop the Baltimore Ravens in this game, which not a lot of NFC teams do. The only NFC team to ever beat Lamar has been the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles in his whole career. Saquon Barkley was involved in both of those games. Connor, what are your main takeaways from this game?
I'm looking at Lamar Jackson through these first 3 weeks has been incredible, right? He's got 10 touchdowns, over 100 rushing yards. His passing has been phenomenal, and the Ravens are 1-2. They've scored over 100 points in 3 games, and they're 1-2.
Is that true?
Yeah,
they have.
I think it's 111. I mean, you got
40,
40, and 70, and then 41. You're at 111, and you're 1-2, which seems ridiculous, right? And you can say part of it's because of the matchups. You face the Bills and the Lions. Pretty, agreeable that they're 2 of the best teams in the NFL. So that obviously is tough to overcome, but.
Winnable.
Very winnable. You're in these games if you take away the Derrick Henry fumble, everything's very different. I mean, I feel bad for Lamar Jackson. He's playing at an MVP level right now. And it's just, things haven't gone his way. The one thing I noticed last night, more than I have in the past, is he really does not throw the ball away. Like, I know people talk about it, and they're like, he tries to make plays, right? He extends plays with his legs. But there were a ton of times where he would take losses for 12 yards last night, 5 yards, 10 yards, instead of just simply throwing the ball away. And instead of it being a 2nd and 10, you're looking at a 2nd and 15, a 2nd and 17. And it's like, dude, like, you can save your team so much yardage by just throwing the ball away. Because we know he can get outside the pocket, and then you just throw the ball out of bounds. That's all you got to do. It's very simple. And he decides not to do it. And, it does cost his team. It doesn't show up on the stat line, but, it's a big part of why this team struggles to convert in certain situations. So definitely a good game, Vinny. I had a good time watching it, and I'm not worried about the Ravens at all.
Not worried. Well, I wouldn't say I'm not worried. I'm slightly concerned just because they look a little different this year. They've been in every game. They even had the big win last week, but they do look a little bit different. I think their formula is getting a little tired at this point. But we will see what happens. They also had a lot of injuries last night. No Jair Alexander, no Matabike, one of their best defenders. So the Lions were able to run all over them. So we both get it wrong there. But let's move on to a game. I know you're actually dreading talking about this game, but what a game this was.
I don't want to talk about this game at all. The Packers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. And, going into this game, right, Packers are 2-0, look like one of the most dominant football teams in the league.
Dominant.
And I'm coming into this game feeling really good. And I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm watching the games, and things are going. The Packers are controlling the game. I'll say that. We weren't dominating it. It was a very low-scoring game, which I expected. Right, this is going to be a defensive battle. We don't have that same explosive offense like we saw from the Ravens, but it was very low-scoring. 10-0 though. The Packers were up in the fourth quarter. Okay, and then the game just fell apart. Right, couple bad drives. The offense stalled out, which it had been doing a ton in the second half. We've seen it now where the Packers get out to a double-digit lead to 0, and they've gotten out to that lead in every single game, and somehow the other team is still somewhat in the game in the second half. We saw it last year. This is just something that happens with Matt LaFleur. He takes his foot off the gas, tries to run the ball, and it's not going to work because they know that's what you're going to do. Right? So you end up punching the ball away, and then you're throwing the ball on 3rd and 10. You're getting nothing. So not good play calling by Matt LaFleur here. I'll say that. But yeah, a costly turnover by Jordan Love, right, in our own side of the field, where they tried to run a man beater and the linebacker just read Jordan Love and picked it off. I don't think it was necessarily Jordan Love's fault. I mean, he had the read and he didn't really have time to look off at the linebacker. He just kind of had to throw it when he saw Dontavian Wicks went off the line. But still, it sucks seeing that. Gives them great field position. Quinshon Judkins gets in the end zone. And it's a tie ball game. And I'm stressing. I'm freaking out. Packers go down the field. They get in field goal range. I'm like, okay, we're good. 30 seconds left. We're going to kick this game-winning field goal. It's like a 44-yarder, 48-yarder. Nothing too crazy. Brandon McManus, fantastic kicker, right? So I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, we got the win. Blocked field goal. And I am like, oh, my goodness. And the Browns go down. They get to just around midfield. Micah Parsons jumps off sides to make things worse. And I'm like, so now the Browns are in field goal range, and he hits the game-winning field goal. And I was like, you know what? I guess it wasn't meant to be. I will say, Vinny, my biggest takeaway was the offensive line for the Packers was absolutely dismantled. Zach Tom went down in the first play. He didn't play. Aaron Banks also left the game early on. Those are two of our best offensive linemen against a very good pass rush. But the Packers offensive linemen, right, for the whole game had a 15.5 pass blocking grade, which is Green Bay's worst performance since at least 2006 and the worst by any team since 2021, which is terrible. Browns sacked Jordan Love 5 times, 7 quarterback hits. He was just under relentless pressure the entire game. He finished with the stat line of 18 to 25, 183 yards, a touchdown, and that costly pick. Matthew Golden kind of had his breakout game, even though it wasn't much of a breakout, but he had 4 catches for 52 yards. Joe Flacco, I mean, this Browns offense was terrible the entire game. Joe Flacco was 21 of 36, 142 yards, and a pick. To Xavier McKinney, shout out Xavier McKinney. And then Quinshon Judkins, looking like he's going to be the true workhorse back in this Cleveland Browns backfield. 18 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Most of that yardage came on one big play he had in that fourth quarter that set up their initial field goal. to get them on the board. So not what you like to see from the Packers, allowing one big play kind of flips everything. But Packers had 14 penalties, Vinny, in this game. 14. And you're not going to win a game with 14 penalties. They probably should have still, but they didn't. Micah Parsons had the offsides late in the game. That's obviously costly. He took responsibility for that. And then, again, just reiterating the fact that blocked field goals, man. I mean, we'll get into it more, but like I said in the intro, this was the week of blocked field goals for some reason. And, of course, we couldn't get the block back. They blocked us. We couldn't block them. It is what it is. But Browns win this game. It's a huge loss for us. I'm not worried about the team. We need to do a better job protecting Jordan Love here. And props to the Browns pass rush. I mean, Myles Garrett, all the guys on that defensive line, very talented, but this is a bad look for a Packers team that looked extremely dominant the first 2 weeks.
Extremely shocking. This is one of the most shocking outcomes I've seen in a while. I mean, not that I was expecting the Packers to light the world on fire on offense, because the Browns, we need to start respecting how good their defense is, even though we consider them one of the worst teams in the league. Their defense, especially their pass rush, is so dominant. So props to them. But like you said, I mean, the Packers had control of this football game, the entire game, and they just shot themselves in the foot. I'm out in every survivor pool I'm in because I took the Packers. Our lock of the week, we're done. That's done now because we lost there. So that's on me. I kind of encouraged that. So I will say that's my fault. But Green Bay, tough one. Still not worried about them because these games are going to happen. You're going to have upsets, but just really, really shocking. Really, really shocking game here.
Disappointing.
Very disappointing. But, hey, speaking of blocked field goals, how about this matchup in the 1 o'clock window, Rams and Eagles? Let's go through
Vinny,
that.
This game also made me mad. All right? I know for any of you who saw the preview episode, I picked the Rams in this one. Vinny took the Eagles. And the Rams were up 26-7 at halftime. I'm sitting there feeling like I'm going to get a pick over everybody because no one else picked the Rams. So I'm feeling great, right? The Rams are dominating. Eagles can't field a kickoff. They couldn't do anything, right? The offense looked terrible. But then second half comes around and Jalen Hurts says, you know what? I can throw the football. And A.J. Brown says, you know what? I can catch the football. And they had an absolute monstrous second half. Jalen Hurts finishes 21 of 32, 226 yards, 3 touchdowns, 40 rushing yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown had 6 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown, most of that coming in that second half. Yeah. Same thing for Devonta Smith. He had 8 catches for 60 yards and what ended up being the game-winning touchdown. But so the Eagles win this one 33-26, but basically in my mind it was a 27-26 victory. At the end of the game, another blocked field goal. All right, well let's go earlier actually. So Rams had a chance to extend their lead. I think it would have made it 29-21 if they made the field goal, and it got blocked. So it was still 26-21 at that time. Eagles then went down to score. That's where the Devonta Smith touchdown happened. They took the lead with about a minute to go. Rams get the ball back. They drive down the field, and they're ready to kick the game-winning field goal as time expires, basically, right? And it gets blocked. And Jalen Carter runs it back for a touchdown. Not Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. He runs it back for a touchdown. So that's why we got 33-26, but it was 27-26. They just happened to return the blocked kick for a touchdown, which doesn't really matter unless you were betting on the spread, which then you're very mad.
Very mad.
Or happy. But this game, I mean, 2 blocked field goals in this game, a blocked field goal in the Packers game. There's another blocked field goal we're going to talk about a little bit later. I mean, what is going on? No one knows how to block. It's just this is one of those plays where you just kind of okay. We scored a touchdown. Let's go kick the extra point. Or, okay, we're at the 30-yard line. Let's kick a field goal. And the kicker's either going to make it or he's going to miss it, right? You don't even consider blocks half the time. Like 75%, 90% of the time. You're not even thinking a block is going to happen.
Yeah.
But we got a ton this week. Yeah. And it really cost me especially with the Rams and the Packers. And, Vinny, I know you with the Packers and your survivor pools as well. I mean, just it's the worst way to lose a football game. Because it's
the worst way. And the fact that it happened 3 times is absurd in 1 week. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Just quick notes on this game here. Really great matchup. The Rams clearly outplayed the Eagles in this one. I think the Rams are leaving this game obviously frustrated because of the way it ended, but it's favorable for them. I think they looked really good in this game. Yeah. And for Philly, do you see how fun Philly is when they're in a situation where they have to throw the football?
Yeah.
They are
A.J. Brown's got his aura coming out, right? He's stiff-arming people and breaking tackles, and he's fired up. I mean, it's awesome to see.
They are blessed with one of the best two wide receiver, tight end like trios in the entire NFL, and Saquon. And I mean, they use Saquon regardless. I'm trying to say when they have to throw the ball, like AJ Brown, and I'm quoting. I saw Damian Harris, who is a former Patriots running back, say this about AJ Brown, and I saw this somewhere that he said that AJ Brown was the best wide receiver talent-wise in the NFL, if not like top 3, but he just doesn't have the opportunity to show that.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the guy because he is actually so talented. And when he is in a situation where they're going to throw the football and they're down, which never happens the past 2 years, it never happens. But, I mean, they could do something special like this. So props to the Eagles. It's a good comeback win for them. As for the Rams, not too concerned. They're still one of my favorites to come out of the NFC. But, yeah, the Eagles are fun when they have to do this.
Yeah, so just lastly, to wrap this up here, quick stats for the Rams. Stafford was 19 of 33, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. Actually threw a pick on the opening drive of the game to help the Eagles out even more, and they were still down 26 to 7 at half. Kyron Williams, 94 rushing yards, got a receiving touchdown. He's still the clear workhorse there. And then Puka and Devontae both had good games. Puka had 11 catches for 112 yards, and Devontae Adams is the one that got the long touchdown. So, Rams made the Eagles look awful in the first half. Eagles kind of reversed it. Wouldn't say they made the Rams look awful, but the Eagles dominated that second half, especially that fourth quarter. And the blocked field goal, of course, was the icing on top. I took the Rams. Vinny took the Eagles. He got that game over me. But yeah, those 3 games were kind of the 3. Packers-Browns wasn't necessarily a good game, but it was a big storyline. And then Rams-Eagles, and Lions-Ravens, obviously 2 fantastic games. So that's what we're trying to do here with this new segment or this new format is focus on the big storylines, the big games at the top here, and then we'll kind of go through the rest as we get down.
Yeah, so speaking of, we're going to go to what we're going to call the best of the rest here and talk about the games that definitely have some notable storylines to them, starting off with my New England Patriots. Really bad day for our favorite teams here on the program.
So bad.
Really, really bad Sunday. So we welcome the Steelers to town, a place where Aaron Rodgers has never won. He's never won in his career at Gillette Stadium. He comes in and leads the Steelers to a 21-14 victory. That score does not tell the story of this ballgame because the New England Patriots should have had at least 28 points on the board, if not more. It was costly turnovers is the story of this game. Ramondre Stevenson with 2 fumbles in this game. The fumbling issues have returned. It was his main problem last year. It's the reason why there was a lot of conversation about TreVeyon Henderson taking over that backfield early. So far, it's been Ramondre's backfield. He has gotten the majority of the work, especially on the ground.
And he's looked
Patriots.
Good.
He has looked fine. He's looked completely fine. This game, there was an early fumble on the first drive for the Patriots, and then there was a very costly fumble literally at the goal line, at the 2-inch line, which would have, I believe, tied the game. So an extremely poor performance. And Mike Vrabel, he's the type of coach, we didn't see him again after that. He was out. He was gone. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a shift next week. We play the Panthers. It's a good game to experiment for sure. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of Ramondre next week, but Vrabel did acknowledge that he's still an important part of the team. And he will be needed this season. But a really bad game for him. It didn't end there, though. Drake May, our quarterback, he fumbled as well. He also threw a pick. He should have had 2 more picks that the defenders dropped. So he threw for a lot of yards, 268. He had a touchdown, led the team in rushing. So a good game for Drake May, all things considered, but did make those mistakes. And then Antonio Gibson, our third string, second string running back, whatever you want to call him, he fumbled as well. And then he was out of the game after that too. So after these guys fumbled, we saw TreVeyon Henderson get a majority of the work. He didn't take advantage of it at all. He didn't look good. But yeah, just kind of what you'd expect there for the Patriots. Just, a lot of mistakes. But as for the Steelers, I mean, they played bad, man. They did not play good. Aaron Rodgers, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Calvin Austin, Jalen Warren, they each had 34 receiving yards, which led the team. They tied in receiving for the team lead there. Just not a good game for the Steelers. And the Patriots, after the first quarter, played lockdown defense on these guys, and the score just didn't change after that. The Steelers scored a late touchdown to take the lead, and the Patriots just shot themselves in the foot. It's just the mistakes that we've seen in the past, and we thought it was going to be gone this year with the new coaching and some new personnel there. Same old mistakes for the Pats. Steelers get a win, not a deserved one, but not too much else to say for this one, Connor.
No, yeah, I mean, for me, shout out TJ Watt for getting his first sack in 6 games. He had a good game. for the
really,
Steelers.
really good game.
Very good, very disruptive. And then, I'm just for the Steelers. I mean, I had more faith about this team coming into the year. I mean, both of these teams really, I had a little more faith than how they've looked. But for the Steelers, I mean, how can you end with Aaron Rodgers throwing for 139 yards, right? And DK Metcalf has nothing. He has a touchdown, but he has 30 receiving yards. Like, DK Metcalf has been a non-factor outside of his touchdowns so far. And it's kind of like, why even trade for this guy? Like last year, right? George Pickens was featured the entire time. Like, he was the guy you want to get in the ball every time. And here, it doesn't seem like they care to get DK Metcalf the ball. It's like, if he's open, then sure. But they're not designing things for him. They're not trying to get him open. It's a little disappointing because I think he can be a very big part of that offense. We just haven't seen it yet. And then for the Patriots, I mean, I'd love to see Travion come out next week, and be that 3-down guy that we know he can be, and kind of prove to the coaching staff and the world that he is here. And if you're gonna fumble, right, you're gonna lose your chance, and it's gonna be Travion's time. And I'm hoping that he gets that chance and he goes out there and he has a great game because it is a pretty favorable matchup there with the Panthers. But speaking of the Panthers, Vinny, they actually had a very good game this past week.
Love
so
to see it.
We say favorable matchup for the Patriots coming up, but they just had a 30-0 win over a team that we said could be competing for a division title, right?
Yep.
So maybe this Panthers team figured something out here. The Falcons and the Panthers in Carolina, and the Panthers win this one 30-0. As I said, Bryce Young didn't have to do all that much. He went 16-24, 121 yards with a rushing touchdown as well. The running game for the Panthers was pretty good. Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle combined for over 100 yards. Dowdle got the touchdown. On the other side, Michael Penix Jr. looked absolutely horrendous. This was by far his worst game as a starting quarterback in the NFL. 18 of 36, 172 yards, 2 interceptions. And Vinny, that pick six he had might have been the worst throw of all time.
Of the week. Of all time.
Yeah. Okay. Of the week is probably better, but I would
I've seen some Mac Jones throws that have been worse.
I get that, but it's just like he thought he just didn't even look. He thought Bijan would be wide open in the flat as his check down. Didn't look, just threw it, and the Panther corner standing right there. Like, what are we doing? Bijan still did Bijan things, 111 scrimmage yards, but we saw Kirk Cousins in this game. That should tell you all you need to know about how bad Michael Penix was, right? Mm-hmm. Cousins gets benched last year for Penix, and now Penix gets benched for Cousins. They announced that Penix will be the starter still going forward as of right now. But if he continues to look this bad, especially against a team like the Panthers, I mean, it might be Kirk Cousins' time.
That's a conversation I really didn't think we were going to have this year because Penix, like, while not insanely good, he's been very serviceable, and even last year showed flashes of being great.
Yeah.
So you look at a matchup against the Panthers, widely considered a bottom 3 defense in the NFL.
100%.
Maybe even the worst.
Yep.
Putting up a goose egg is kind of ridiculous. Drake London, who is supposed to be their feature guy, their number 1 wide receiver, has been really non-existent all year. I mean, you have a guy like Kyle Pitts who's like leading the team in receptions and like kind of the guy in this offense. I don't know, like, good for Kyle Pitts, but that shouldn't be a good thing here for you if you're the Atlanta Falcons. So we mentioned it. We've said this before. The Falcons are not a team you can put your full trust in. They are very capable of going out and having games like this, and they're also capable of going and destroying the Vikings or being in games with the Bucs. It doesn't matter. It's a week-to-week thing. Throw everything you know out the window about them. They looked bad. Props to the Panthers, though. I'm happy they got their win, and they looked like the end of 2024 Panthers in this game. And Bryce Young, it's always. I mean, he didn't have a great, like, amazing game. He was very efficient.
But he didn't have to do good.
He didn't have to do good.
The defense did it all.
Defense did it all, but it's always like, I think NFL fans have they like to see the Panthers succeed because who dislikes the Panthers?
No
one. Who genuinely? Like, even the division opponents, like, is there anyone who hates the Panthers like that? Like, I feel like that no one does. So we all are kind of in a community here in agreement that seeing the Panthers do this it's heartwarming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Not good for Pickem. Not good for Pickem pools or survivor pools. But yeah, we both took the Falcons there, obviously. An interesting score there. Well, let's move on. Another interesting game here, which wasn't for about 99% of it, but it turned interesting at the very last second. The Jets and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, by the way, white throwback jerseys, one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Those things were amazing. So props to them for putting those jerseys together. I love them. But the Bucs win this one 29-27 on a walk-off field goal. How did we get to that point, you ask? Well, they had a giant lead the whole game, as you would assume that they would. They're the better team here. Jets are throwing Tyrod Taylor out there, who had a pretty good game, almost threw for 200 yards. He led the team in rushing, not bad. I mean, he had Garrett Wilson have a 10-catch, 84-yard day with a touchdown, so not bad. But overall, man, the Bucs just outplayed them, and they led the Jets the whole game. But then the Jets started storming back. If anyone was watching NFL Red Zone, you'd have no idea, because they did not show this game once until all of the other chaos was over between the Browns, the Packers, the Rams, Eagles. All that unfolded, right? And then they suddenly cut to this, and it's like, hey, just so you know, it cut right to the field goal. So the Bucs were about to kick a field goal to kind of cement the game, to get up by, what would they have been up by, 4 or 6, or it would have been
10. No, 9.
No, yeah.
11,
so it was
9?
It was 26-20. Sorry, it was 26-20. Now
9,
it's coming back to me.
Been up by 9.
So they would have been up by 9. Would have been up by 2 scores. Will McDonald on the Jets special teams leaps over the center, blocks it, takes it back for a touchdown. I mean, and this happened, and no one had any idea. They literally cut to the field goal. By the way, guys, the Jets came back in this game. Garrett Wilson caught a touchdown. Like, they came storming back. Like, yep, here we go. Here's a kick to seal the game for the Bucs. Nope, here come the Jets.
And they had the lead.
Like
a minute to go in the game.
That was unbelievable. Aaron Glenn with a crazy celebration on the sideline of the head coach of the Jets there. But then, the Bucs, they have a ball with a minute left. They only need a field goal. I look at that, and I'm like, Baker has done this every week so far, led his team to a victory on the final drive. So I'm like, you know what? I think he's going to do it again, and that's exactly what he did. Leads his team down the field. They get their walk-off field goal. They win. They get a scary, scary win here, but it's a win nonetheless. Yep. So I don't know if you have any takeaways from this one. What a weird turn of events.
I mean, the crazy thing to me was the blocked field goal by the Jets, returned for a touchdown, right? The Packers that had their field goal blocked, and the Rams having their field goal blocked, all happened in the span of like 3 minutes. It was a ridiculous ending to this 1 o'clock window where there were 3 crucial blocked field goals, all right at the end of the game in the span of a couple minutes. So, absurd. It's great entertainment, right? Like, that's awesome to see. But it was crazy, and especially for picks, it was very nerve-wracking. I had the Bucs in my survivor pool.
Yeah.
So that was scary for me. After the Packers just lost, so I was already sad, and the Rams lost, so I was even more sad. But biggest takeaway from this game, right? Mike Evans, hamstring. They say he's going to miss a couple weeks. They say it's not as bad as last year. So hopefully, instead of 4 weeks, it's 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe even just 1 week. But I'd imagine he's out at least a week, probably 2 weeks. And maybe we can talk about him returning that 3rd week if possible. But definitely not good for this Bucs team. But on the bright side, Chris Godwin will be coming back in that span. So the time that Mike Evans is out, Chris Godwin has a chance to come back. So it could kind of be a replacement. Obviously, Mike Evans is the main guy there still, which you want him on the field. But if you can get Godwin back, you still have Godwin and Buka at that point, and I think you're going to be okay.
He's been so good.
Yeah, Buka's been fantastic. I don't know if anyone saw his fantastic catch in this game. One hand down the sideline. And even on that final drive there to get the game-winning field goal, he had a huge catch on the other sideline. So, I mean, he's been fantastic for this team.
Phenomenal. Bucs do get the win there, and by a slim margin, really too close for a game between the Tyrod Taylor-led Jets and the Buccaneers. But let's move on to the 4 o'clock window. Okay, starting off with a really, really good game here in L.A. We got the Chargers and the Broncos, 2 teams out of the AFC West, 2 teams with aspirations to win the AFC West, considering how bad the Kansas City Chiefs have started. The Chargers get another win. They improved to 3-0. They win this one 23-20. Justin Herbert, another phenomenal game. 300 yards. He throws a touchdown. Not very efficient, I will say. 28 for 47, but throws a touchdown and a pick. Putting up 300 yards against the Broncos is not easy to do. I know it took him 47 attempts to do it, but it's still pretty impressive. You would think throwing the ball that many times that there'd be nothing in the run game. Well, that just wasn't true either, because Amari Hampton, who is now the 100% lead back in LA because Najee Harris, unfortunately, is going to be out for the year. That was announced. So Amari Hampton is your backfield now. He has 70 yards and a touchdown on 19 attempts. Good day for him. I mean, on the other side of things, Bo Nix, he only had 153 yards and a touchdown, 14 for 25. He had a lot of opportunities, though.
Yeah, missed a lot of big plays.
Missed a lot of big plays. he hasn't looked as good as he has last year so far.
I don't like it.
I know.
I don't like it.
It's kind of feeling like a little CJ Stroud-esque so far in the second year for Nix. Hopefully he could turn around. Both of us are huge Bo Nix guys here on this podcast, so we hope he could turn around. Not a great game for him, but his number one wide receiver still balled out. Cortland Sutton, 6 receptions, 118 yards, and a touchdown. And then J.K. Dobbins, he's led the backfield there in Denver. We thought it might be a committee with R.J. Harvey. I mean, Dobbins, only 11 attempts, but he had 83 yards and a touchdown. So interesting to note there. The Chargers, I mean, they proved to be the better team. I think these teams, in my mind, were pretty close, pretty even. But the Chargers, they definitely outplayed the Broncos, especially on offense. I think they proved they were the better team here. And I think now they're sitting at 3-0. I think we have to start having talks about the division and how far they could go in this NFL season.
I mean,
what do you think?
They have a 2-game cushion now over their competition, right? The Broncos and the Chiefs. We'll talk about the Chiefs in a minute, but they're both sitting at 1-2 now, right? So,
yeah,
Chargers are looking good. I will say this is crushing for the Broncos. You go back-to-back weeks in absolutely heartbreaking losses, games you probably should win.
Yep.
I mean, against the Colts, you have that ridiculous penalty that costs you. This game, I mean, Bo Nix misses Marvin Mims for big plays twice and early on in the game. Then Cortland Sutton, late in the game, you had him for a first down, would have got him into field goal range. He just missed him by inches, like probably just a couple inches he missed him, maybe even centimeters, right? It was very close, almost touched his fingertips. Like, it was a very good throw. It's just one of those things where it's so hard for quarterbacks to be that perfect. Like, I give them all the respect in the world because it is so hard to put that throw right on the money, and it proved it there. He just missed him. But they had the lead. I mean, they were up 20-13 with a minute and 50 to go in this game. Vinny. Yeah. It's just crazy to think that they could have lost this game. And the Justin Herbert touchdown to Keenan Allen at the end there, that was fantastic. I mean, they still got that chemistry. But Chargers look very good this year, and I think you can give a lot of that credit to the coach.
My biggest shock for the Chargers, all 3 of their receivers have been great.
Yeah. Ladd McConkey's actually been the worst.
The worst. Yeah. And he's been solid. He hasn't been bad. But, I mean, talk about Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen finding themselves in the end zone so often. Keenan Allen all 3 weeks. I think Johnston all 3 weeks too, right? Maybe. So, I mean, that's just unexpected. Last year we saw McConkey completely control that offense. But, when you have 3 guys you could trust for Herbert, that's a really good thing. So, I mean, the Chargers are definitely legit. They're definitely a big shock. I didn't think they were going to be bad by any means, but definitely a huge surprise that they're this good, and they will look to keep it going. As for the Broncos, favorable matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, who we'll touch upon a little bit later in this episode.
I lied. Quentin Johnston did not score this week. He scored the last 2 weeks, though.
Okay.
Still a good week.
That's what I was thinking. He did have a good week. He didn't score, but yeah, good for the Chargers. They go to 3-0. One of, I want to say 6 3-0 teams. I'll have to fact check that. But I know there's still a good amount of undefeated teams. But anyway, speaking of undefeated, we have a battle of undefeated teams in the Bay Area here at NFC West.
Yeah, battle of the NFC West, and it's between the Cardinals and the 49ers. One of these teams was going to drop to 2-1 on the season, pick up their first loss of the year. And that would end up being the Cardinals taking their first loss. The 49ers win this game 16-15 in what was a very boring game. Mac Jones, 27-41, 284 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. CMC, as always, is going to go over 100 scrimmage yards. He had 140 in this game. Ricky Pearsall, fantastic game from him. No Juwan Johnson in this game, so he was the true clear-cut wide receiver in this game. He had 8 catches for 117 yards, some very big catches late in the game. Kyler Murray for the Cardinals. Just not a lot from him, right? You got 22 of 35, 159 yards and a touchdown. Trey McBride had 5 catches for 43 of those yards and a touchdown. Big news here for the Cardinals, James Conner going to be out for the year. What was a pretty gruesome ankle injury. So that sucks for them. But they got Trey Benson, who's been pretty good so far this year when he's been able to play. He had 42 yards in this game, and he should be the clear workhorse back for this team going forward. Amari DiMarcado did not look good, so I'd imagine it's really going to be pushed that it's going to be the Benson show, which I think is good, especially for fantasy managers out there. If he's available in your leagues still, I mean, go pick him up if you can. If you have him on your bench, then you are in luck. You can plug him into your lineup and start him every week. But yeah, Vinny, I mean, not really much to say about this game. I had the 49ers. It was a very ugly game. Just glad that they came out with it in the end.
Yeah, not a lot of notes here. Trey Benson's going to be great. Cardinals looked mediocre as always, as they've looked even in their 2 wins this year. Just mediocre stuff.
Yep.
As for the Niners, man, I mean, their formula is simple. They got Mac Jones, doing his thing, throwing for a lot of yards every week, and he's going to be serviceable. I've said this over and over again. Mac Jones, he's not very good, but he can get the job done with the 49ers, especially having a guy like Christian McCaffrey who you can rely on to pretty much carry you to a victory. So good for Mac Jones. I'm happy. I actually genuinely am happy for the guy that he's succeeding, even with a lot of help. He is succeeding. So good for him. And good for the 49ers. They're 3-0, very fraudulent 3-0, but they are 3-0 nonetheless. And speaking of people and teams that I'm very happy for, why don't you take us to Chi-Town, the Windy City?
The Cowboys,
crazy game.
Yeah, very crazy game. The Cowboys were traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears have not had a win yet this year. They're 0-2, right? Cowboys 1-1. But the Bears get their first win of the year, man. And I know Vinny was fired up about this. They win 31-14, a really convincing win. Cowboys didn't have a chance in this game, really. Caleb Williams looked fantastic, 19 of 28, 298 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Had some trick plays that Ben Johnson brought out. Freed up Luther Burden for a deep touchdown. He finished with 3 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Roma Dunze gets in the end zone again. Only 3 catches, but 62 yards. On the other side, I mean, Dak Prescott lost his guy CeeDee Lamb very early on. It was an ankle injury. Apparently, it's not as serious as it could have been, but I'd imagine he's going to miss at least a week or 2. So Dak Prescott, without CeeDee Lamb, not a terrible performance. Threw 2 interceptions, but he went 31 of 40, 251 yards and a touchdown. A lot of that went to Jake Ferguson, the tight end, who had 13 catches on this game, 82 total yards off of that. And then George Pickens had 5 catches for 68 yards, and he got a touchdown. Javonte Williams also continuing his pretty good start to the season, 76 rushing yards, but it was not the game script that he would have liked in this game, for fantasy managers. Just didn't really have the ability to run the ball a ton, being down from the entire game. So Bears get the win, Vinny. Team looked really good. DJ Moore got a touchdown late as well. The run game wasn't really there. DeAndre Swift still struggling to get things going. Kyle Monangai, not really much going on the ground. But, when the pass game's playing like this and the defense is playing the way it is right now, you don't really have to run the ball a ton. So props to the Bears. Very proud that they got their first win. I mean, I'm a Packers fan, so it kind of sucks that everyone in the division won except for the Packers. But you know what? I don't think the Bears are going to be much competition for the Packers this year. So I'm happy that they got a win.
That's good. Hey, my Bears here, back in the win column, man. It felt good. And this was probably the most fun Bears game I've seen of all time. This game, the Bears, they don't do things like this. They're not fun like this. They're just so boring and so bad most of the time. That flea flicker, DeAndre Swift back to Caleb Williams to Luther Burden, it was so ugly, but it was so awesome at the same time. Trayvon Diggs got absolutely broken, and it was just so much fun. The place was going crazy. For some reason, they had the national game of the week, the America's game of the week.
I would have liked it to be Rams-Eagles, but
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Cowboys-Bears is an iconic matchup. They're 2 huge fan bases, but still, ugly game, but a lot of fun. And I think this is more of a testament to how bad Dallas secondary is compared to how good the Bears are in offense, because we know that they're not good. But props to Ben Johnson. This game felt personal. I think Ben Johnson wanted to prove that he's not a fluke, and that he can win games with the players he has and, turn this into a good offense. So good for him, good for them. As for the Cowboys, they look like they're kind of cooked. I'm not going to lie. They've been very competitive so far, but obviously the Eagles was a really good game. You let the Bears do this to you, I'm quite concerned about you as a franchise. So they face the Green Bay Packers next week, so we will see what goes down in that
Hopefully
one.
a bounce-back game for the Packers.
I'm not going to bet on it because that usually doesn't go well when I do that, but I'll confidently say that that's going to happen. But anyway, it is now time for a brand new segment here on VinConn Sports Talk. It is the introduction of what we're calling the Quick Six. And the Quick Six is going to be the 6 worst games of the week, and we're going to do it quickly. Okay? It's really a crazy concept. It's innovative. It's mesmerizing. You've never seen anything like it in your life. So basically, I have 3 games. Connor has 3 games. We're going to run through it wicked quick, all, one after another. So why don't we just are you ready? Do you need to get a drink, catch your breath?
I'm charged. I'm charged up. I'm ready.
He's ready. So the Quick Six, starting with me. My final 3 games, starting off the Colts and the Titans, the Colts continue to dominate their competition. They win 41-20. The Tennessee Titans had nothing in this game. Cam Ward, he did throw for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, so not terrible. Chigakonkwo was his leading receiver. Again, Calvin Ridley nowhere to be found. But on the Colts side of things, Daniel Jones, another great game, 18 for 25, doesn't turn the ball over. Michael Pittman gets involved with 73 yards and a touchdown. And how about Jonathan Taylor with 3 touchdowns on the ground, just absolutely destroying the Titans front 7. Really good game for the Colts. They go to 3-0. Titans go to 0-3. Staying in the AFC South, the Texans and the Jaguars are extremely ugly football game. Both teams played horrible. Trevor Lawrence continues to just be a bust. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Just continues to be awful. And CJ Stroud is really not that far away from that conversation as well. The Jaguars get a win here, 17-10, pushing the division favorite Houston Texans to 0-3.
Crazy.
And they just looked miserable in this game. Nico Collins finally has a good game, but part of that is because there was some busted coverage situation that allowed him to be absolutely wide open at the 10-yard line and score a touchdown easily. That saved C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins' day. Statistically, still wasn't enough to get the win there. Their offense looks miserable. And as for the Jaguars, they don't look good either. Because their star wide receiver, well, we thought he was a star, I guess, Brian Thomas Jr., he had another awful game. He looks like he's on another planet right now. He had 2 for 55, most of that coming on one big play at the end of the game. And then Trevor Lawrence, I know this isn't right because I typed this wrong. It says 22 yards. I know he had more than that. But he did throw 1 interception. He was 20 for 40, so only 50% there. Jags win. They actually go to 2-1, so they're competitive. The Texans are 0-3. We'll see if there's enough time for them to climb out of the hole. And then finally, just keeping the trend of horrible football going on Sunday night, second week in a row where Sunday Night Football was god awful. We have the Chiefs and the Giants, a game that we both thought was going to be ugly, but at least entertaining, and it turned out to just be ugly and horrible.
Yeah.
Chiefs win this one 22-9. Patrick Mahomes, 224 yards, a touchdown. You saw him throw the ball a little bit more in this game, so he actually didn't look bad. Tyquan Thornton has been the de facto number 1 receiver, I guess, on this team in the absence of Xavier Worthy. He's the deep threat. He's got 71 yards and a touchdown in this one. And then the run game for the Chiefs have just continued to be pretty bad. I did this last week. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, I got the names mixed up. They both had 10 carries for 45 yards, believe it or not. So just nothing great on the ground for them. For the Giants, it was even worse, though. Russell Wilson, 2 picks, 160 yards, 18 for 32, just a bad game. The only positive for the Giants was Cam Scatabo. Am I saying that right? I never say the name.
Scatabo or Scatabo?
Scatabo.
Scatabo.
Led the team in rushing and receiving. We know Tyrone Tracy is going to be injured for a little bit, so Scatabo for your fantasy managers is a good pickup there. The notable news for the Giants is they just did announce before we started recording that they're going with Jackson Dart, the rookie out of Ole Miss. Russell Wilson is going to the bench after just an awful performance in this game. So, yeah, Connor, those were my 3 games. Definitely a surprise in the Texans and Jags. The other 2 went how we thought they were going to go. Yep. Do you have any thoughts on these 3 games here?
I'm thinking a good thing we can do here is I'm going to give one reaction to each game. It could be a hot take, overreaction to each game.
Okay.
All right.
I like that.
So, Colts, Titans. Colts are not frauds. Colts win the division. Texans, Jaguars. Texans missed the playoffs. They finished under 500 on the season. Chiefs, Giants. It's not about the game, but my hot take, Jackson Dart makes the offense look worse. Their passing offense stalls out, and they go to Jameis Winston after a couple weeks of Jackson Dart.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. I love all 3 of those takes. The Giants take is marvelous. I love that.
You got to get some spice on here, some hot takes, overreactions, things that can make it engaging, right? So I think that's a good way to do this. Now I'll go through my 3 games, and you can do the same thing for my games as we go here. So kicking things off with the Raiders at the Commanders. Both teams 1-1. Commanders without Jaden Daniels in this game. It's Marcus Mariota, the Oregon Duck. I picked the Commanders for that reason. I love the Oregon Ducks. Marcus Mariota does very well. 15-21, 207 yards, 1 touchdown. Also had 40 rushing yards and a touchdown. Did fumble, okay, but they got the win, 41-24. That's all that matters. The running back trio of Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, and Krosky Merritt, man, Bill. They combined for 143 yards of rushing. Bill and McNichols got touchdowns. Terry McLaurin had 74 receiving yards. He did pick up a bit of a quad injury, though, so his status is questionable for next week. He says he wants to get it looked at, make sure he's good to go. For the Raiders, Geno Smith, 19 of 29, 289 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. A lot of that was just because they had to throw the ball a lot. Only 29 pass attempts, right? But, I mean, he actually did pretty good. Looking at the stats, only 10 incompletions, did throw for only almost 300 yards. A lot of it was big plays, though. Trey Tucker, right, the deep threat, right, in Las Vegas, so to speak. He had 8 catches for 145 yards in all 3 of Geno Smith's touchdowns. So that was kind of the reason that Geno Smith was able to get his numbers up as high as they were, was because Trey Tucker was just open down the field, saying, hey, throw me the ball, I'm wide open, and I'll run in. Brock Bowers did absolutely nothing in this game. Jacoby Myers, meh. Ashton Genty, 60 rushing yards, but really nothing to write home about. So Commanders win this one. I had the Commanders, Vinny had the Raiders. Moving on to the 2 biggest blowouts of the week. Starting with Cincinnati traveling to Minnesota. We knew the big storyline here. It was Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning at quarterback. My hot take was that Carson Wentz was going to make this team look better. Didn't really get to see because the Vikings defense made this a terrible game right out of the gate. Isaiah Rodgers is the player of the week for me. He had a pick 6, 2 forced fumbles. In one of those fumbles, he actually returned for a touchdown himself. So he had 2 total touchdowns. Fantastic game, right? The Vikings, if you had the Vikings defense in fantasy, they put up over 30 points. You are happy, more than happy. You probably won your week because of that. Going to the offense, though, Carson Wentz, he did have to do something. 14 to 20, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson had 5 catches for 75 yards. Hockenson got one of the touchdowns. Jordan Mason on the ground against this Bengals defense. 16 carries, 116 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. This guy was fantastic. Bengals offense, not even going to talk about it. Nothing noteworthy. Chase Brown did nothing. Jamar Chase did nothing. T. Higgins did nothing. Jake Browning was awful. Nobody saw this game being a blowout like this, Vinny. I know you definitely didn't. You had the Bengals to win this one. Vikings defense was just all over. They destroyed this Bengals offense, and that's what I was expecting. This Vikings defense, they can be very good, especially against a quarterback like Jake Browning and a very vulnerable offensive line. But with that said, we're going to move on to the third game here for me, another blowout, the Saints and the Seattle Seahawks. All right, the Seahawks win this one 44-13, and I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 38-3 at halftime, 38-6 at halftime, 38-3, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the game was out of hand at halftime. I'm surprised they only scored 6 more points. They finished winning 44-13. So, second half, they didn't really do too much. But Sam Darnold, 14 of 18, 218 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, right, in fantasy, he was terrible, but he got 2 rushing touchdowns, and he saved his day. Yeah. He had 16 carries for just 38 yards. Terrible, super inefficient without Zach Charbonnet. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 5 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. He had a great game, especially in that first half, which is all they really needed from him. For the Saints, we keep saying it. Rattler doesn't look terrible, right? He doesn't look awful, right? They just can't figure it out. They can't get in the end zone. He finishes 28 of 39, 218 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Chris Olave being his main guy, who had 10 catches for 57 yards. Now, we did get to see Tyler Shuck in this game. Late on in the fourth quarter, he really didn't look too good at all. So I'd imagine Rattler's still going to be the guy moving forward. But it was cool to see Tyler Shuck. I will say, one note on this game. Surprised we didn't see Jalen Milroe for the Seahawks. We saw Drew Lock come in, but we didn't see Jalen Milroe. I would have thought they give that rookie quarterback a chance to go out and get some action at least in the regular season game. But they said, you know what, we're just going to go with our backup Drew Lock and not mess around. So Seahawks get the win, Vikings get the win, and Commanders get the win. Vinny, those are my 3 games. What are your thoughts?
Okay, 3 hot takes. Ready? I've been thinking about it. So Raiders, Commanders, Marcus Mariota is the best backup quarterback in the NFL. That's my hot take.
Okay.
And another hot take for that one, Ashton Genty is not a top 3 rookie running back the rest of the season.
Are we talking fantasy or are we talking like
I'll say for fantasy.
Okay.
I'll put Hampton, I'll put Travion Henderson, and I'll put maybe even Quinshon Judkins ahead of him.
I love it.
So he's just hasn't looked good.
Yeah.
Bengals, Vikings, the Bengals are not going to get another win for at least 4 more weeks. That's not that hot of a take. Their schedule is bad. But Saints, Seahawks, I'll go. I think Spencer Rattler is going to be the starting QB the entire year.
Okay.
And
I love it.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I don't think the Seahawks are that good, even though they won. They won by a lot. I don't think they're that good. Anyway, putting me on the spot, but I like that. See, we come up with a way to improve the segment on the fly. That's round of applause to us there. That was great. To you, and more so.
Thank you. Well, you set up the quick 6, and I just had the reaction hot take part.
Yeah, so definitely good thing there. Let us know if you like that or not. It's going to shorten the episode by at least 20 minutes, which is a good thing. We don't need to be spending that much time on these awful games like we used to do. But this is a segment now that I'm really not looking forward to sharing with you all because I had one of my worst weeks in the Pick'em of all time. Okay, so to talk about our Pick'em results, Connor, 9-7 this week. Not a bad week considering all of the crazy stuff that happened, but definitely not happy with that. But I'll take that over 6-10 like myself. Okay. My week got somewhat saved in the 4 o'clock window. I only got one game right in the early window of Sunday's games, and it was the Eagles, which almost didn't happen. So just a bad game. And listen, I'll take it on the chest. I took some bold ones. The Titans was stupid. The Bengals was stupid looking back on it. But yeah, just brutal, man. Just a brutal slate. But 4 guys who had a good week here. Shout out Ryan McCarthy. Ryan McCarthy, you're always in it, dude. He's been so good so far. Josh Costello obviously picks all the favorites every week. Brady Kerr, my guy, he's been up there. And then shout out Kurt Swanson, Connor's dad here. So shout out Kurt. We know he picked the Vikings at least because he's a big Vikings guy. So good weeks there. They all go 11-5. So make sure to check out the standings of the Pick'em League and make sure to do your picks. Okay, please do your picks. Like we mentioned, if you don't do them, then you miss a whole week. You're kind of out of it. So bad week for me. We're looking to recover. Just an unpredictable week in general. So who would have thought? But
it's anyway, what it is. It happens.
It is what it is. We'll end this episode. So if you saw our preview this week, we do offer start and sits for fantasy. We try to give you guys the best fantasy advice that we can give. So we each had 2 starts and 2 sits. Connor, why don't you run us through your 4 guys and if you were right or not?
Yeah. So for my starts, I went with Rome Odunze versus the Cowboys and Jordan Mason versus the Bengals. 100% Jordan Mason was a yes. He had 23.6 points in full PPR format. For Rome Odunze, I said it was a kinda because he was projected 15.3, but he got 15.2 points. Still a good day if you started him. You're probably happy with that, but it's like he didn't outscore his projection. So Vinny, I'm bringing in you as the referee here. What are we calling there? Is that a yes, a good start, or is that a no? Because he didn't outscore his projection, but he got 15.2 points.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's just, in my opinion, if a guy gets his projection, then it's a good start.
All right. So I got 2 yeses there. Good start for me. For the sits, all right, Travis Hunter versus the Texans. That was a good one. Yes, he only had 3.1 fantasy points. Omarion Hampton versus the Broncos, however, was a no. Najee got hurt, kind of changed things up really early on. He finished with 24.9 fantasy points. Omarion Hampton looks like he could be one of the best running backs, especially out of the rookies going forward for the rest of the year here. So, Vinny, why don't you take us through your 4 guys?
So my starts, we went 2 for 2 this week. David Montgomery had a great game versus the Ravens. That was a little bit of a risky one for me because I felt like there was a chance that they shut him down, but obviously he had an amazing game. And then Jawan Johnson, the tight end for the Saints, he's like a start every week at this point because for some reason he's just insane. So those 2 yeses for me. For my sits, we go 1 for 2. Michael Pittman. I'm done saying anything about the Colts on the podcast this year. I really am. He had another great week against the Titans, so he had 19.3. Travion Henderson, I told you guys to sit him. I would know. Just don't start any Patriots at this point unless it's Drake May or Hunter Henry. Yeah. He only had 7.7, so I guess not even a bad week for him, but yeah, a good sit. So overall, we had a good week this week in terms of fantasy starts and sits, and I went 2-0 in my leagues. I know you got a big win in our league. How'd you go? What, you're in 3 leagues?
2-1.
What'd you go?
2-1.
So just we know ball, like we know fantasy like that, like we're kind of insane. So
Vinny was in a nail biter.
Absolute nail biter, dude. It was probably the closest like fantasy finish I've had in a while. I was up by 4, had Derrick Henry. Opponent had Sam Laporta. Derrick Henry gets the fumble in the 4th quarter, so now I'm only up by 2. The Lions had their last drive. Basically one big play to Sam Laporta, and I lose because the Ravens being down, Derrick Henry's not going to do anything. So luckily, I hang on. I win by about 2. Sam Laporta didn't get another catch, but yeah, just a crazy sweat there on Monday Night Football. Yeah. You always got to love that. That's going to wrap this up today, Connor, I think. So crazy week 3. Any final takeaways from week 3?
There are a lot of 3-0 teams right now that might not necessarily be deserving of their 3-0 status. I mean, maybe not a lot, but, definitely you think of a team like the 49ers, right?
Yeah, I
the
agree.
Eagles haven't looked the part yet. I know
No.
it's obviously Super Bowl champions, defending champions, but like they haven't looked the part. They probably could have dropped this game against the Rams, maybe even another game, right? The Bucs have been fine, but they've been shaky as well.
Yeah, I'd say
Chargers
the Bucks.
Chargers probably should have lost this week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of teams that, they're fighting. They're fighting and they're getting the wins, which is what matters, right? But they're in very close games. The Colts are like one of the teams that have been blowing everybody out, and we haven't had to worry about them.
That's a convincing 3-0.
I guess except for the Broncos, I guess, but
yeah. I agree with that 100%. A lot of 3-0 teams left. Who's the last team to lose in your opinion? I know we're not going to look at the schedules, but just in your mind, who's the last team that's going to lose? Undefeated?
I'm going to say the Bills.
The Bills.
I think it's a safe pick.
The Bills' schedule is very easy. I've seen that. I think they play the Saints and the Pats the next 2 weeks. So, very easy.
They have a very good matchup. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're looking good. Definitely still my Super Bowl picks. 3 weeks into the year. So, all right, Connor, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. We thank you all for listening. There is not going to be a normal format pick episode this week just because of scheduling conflicts. I might be able to hop on and do a little mini episode for you guys doing my picks, and then I'll say Connor's picks as well. I think that's what we're leaning towards doing right now. So stay tuned for that to drop around the normal time as usual, Thursday or Friday. But yeah, in terms of that, we'll talk to you guys next week after the conclusion of week number 4. So for my partner, Connor, my name is Vinny. That's going to wrap it up. We thank you all for watching and listening, and we will see you next time.